So, you're telling me right now that there are different subsections of goth.
Yeah. I am apparently a vampire goth.
Ah.
Yeah.
Now, what are the different sections?
Well, that was one of the things, is that we couldn't figure out exactly how many different kinds, but there was like...
I mean, is there like a reference book that sort of like says...
No. It didn't give us that much information. It was just like, hey, you're this kind of goth. And we were like, oh, I feel mightily offended.
So, I mean, who were the... like, what sort of other goths were there, though? Were people, like, all getting kind of vampire goth? Or was it, like...
I know my friend got vampire goth as well. However, our boss was traditional goth. Whatever that means.
Is that like the kind of goth that listens to a lot of music from the 80s, like The Cure and things like that? Or
well, that was definitely included in there, but I don't know if that was the kind of goth that a traditional goth is.
I mean, do you think anyone has ever searched for the root of what goth is? Because, I mean, we know at least it's termed from the adjective of gothic.
I mean, these were also...
which is its own kind of... By the way, the story is behind you, it appears.
Folks, you've no doubt heard
Yeah.
Oh, fine.
Oh, fine.
Oh, fine.
Drinking, entitled millennials, and hormones run rampant.
Entitled millennials. So I'm glad we've been here for only a couple of minutes, and already we've gotten a slam against millennials.
Millennials are getting attacked.
What do you think, like, really begat the concept of the goth? You know, what do you think led to the rise of that as a sort of...
I mean,
whatever
similar things led to, like, the idea of nerds and jocks, and it's not that different a concept. It's just, how do we put a label on this person?
I mean, in a sense, yeah. I mean, like, it's one of those things where, nerd culture, I don't know, it's fascinating because I think the nerd culture, maybe I'm wrong.
Nerd culture's kind of dying at this point.
Do you think so?
Well, yeah, because it's not particularly special to be a nerd anymore.
Oh, are you about to go hipster nerd and go, I was into this before it was mainstream?
No, I'm just saying that now we're at this point where... I mean, I know when we were growing up, it kind of depended on who you were, but it wasn't 100% like, hey, I can just freely enjoy talking about anime or Pokemon or comics. Like, it wasn't until, like, the first, really, like, Batman and Iron Man, it's like, okay, you watch the movies, whatever, but we just we're at this stage now where, like, if you be like, oh, I'm being bullied because I'm a nerd. It's like, no, you f***ing aren't.
You swung past it.
It's like, you're not being bullied for being a nerd. You're being bullied because you're probably kind of mean.
Well, I mean...
or entitled.
Do you think, too, though, is that the same way, like we've mentioned before, how there's the different subsections of goth, there's different subsections of nerddom as well.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Like, I would claim... I don't really identify myself...
Do you know how many...
That's a side mission. But there's a story mission over by that door.
Do you know how many D&D podcasts there are? A lot. And tell me, do you think that would have... like, if you're like, oh yeah, man, I'm listening to this D&D podcast 10 years ago when we were in middle school going into high school, you would have been made fun of.
Yeah, well, and, here's the thing, is that I would argue, for example, see, I can't really comment on that angle of nerddom. I've never identified myself as that kind of nerd. I'm a music nerd, which is a very different breed of nerd culture, But, with the D&D thing, from what I can gather on the fringe of the outside, is primarily that I think the change crossover was sort of... like most things, it's when the nerds kind of take over the media. Like, I would argue that the rise of the D&D podcast and all that sort of stuff was simultaneous with people like Dan Harmon putting D&D on, like, network television and putting it on, like, sort of media things that got it more exposure, so that way then it wasn't viewed of as, like, this fringe, demonic, thing. Because, to my knowledge of D&D, when it first came out, it was viewed of very poorly by parents' advocacy groups because they thought that it was going to, like, have a direct correlation to children practicing Satanism.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. I mean...
But I mean, it's not just that, like, anime, right? Anime is much more mainstream now than it was, like, probably even 5 years ago. And none of this is bad. It's just, you really don't get to say anymore, like, oh no, I'm so a nerd and people don't like me because I like nerd stuff, because that's not true. Nerd stuff is popular now.
Yeah. But I would say, though, there's still, like, a fair argument, though, that there are some portions of nerd culture that aren't popular. Like, for example, I still probably could get, I didn't really get made fun of for liking comic books or stuff like that back when I was young. I got made fun of for liking music that was 30, 40 years old. And I think that stigma might still be around, because the music nerd culture is still very much like you got to be a hipster to really be that. They've kind of conflated within themselves. It's like one of those things, like, I'm part of the crowd of people who, actually does buy vinyl not for just the aesthetic but because of the higher sound quality that is available with it.
And
or I listen to all the underground bands, and like Jack Black, I judge those who believe that popularity is a barometer of talent and quality. It's one of those things, and I still think that is a bit of a fringe nerd thing. But I've never identified it as a sort of nerd culture, because people who are music nerds, at least in my experience, are not like the same sort of people who are like D&D. All of my stuff.
Yeah.
He keeps running away from the mic.
Well,
children.
I can't see.
I have to push it. Now it's really, if you're getting a whole lot of John in
if you're getting a whole lot of John, it's because
he's leaned in real close to the mic because he keeps trying to escape it.
I can't see this inane puzzle. Oh my god.
Yeah, aren't you glad every time? Is this like the second time in a row now that you've entered back into a session and you open with a puzzle section?
I feel like it probably has been.
Because what was it last time? I think last time you opened with an MJ mission.
Oh yeah, I did, and I was so
angry.
Fam. I was
And you closed with an MJ mission last time too.
I think I closed with a Miles mission.
No, you closed with an MJ one because we were doing the one where Spider-Man is breaking her out of the Sable.
Oh yeah, because she
broke in to try to get what a scoop!
Yeah, she was doing illegal stuff, and we had to go in and bail her out.
She got real upset about that.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be. We're supposed to be partners, Peter.
Yeah, they are not doing a good job
of riding her.
Yeah. Let's make a Spider-Man game where you play as MJ and where you play as Miles pre-Spider Power, and where you do this weird mini class in like 8th grade electronics.
Which doesn't even have a science component to it. It's just like a puzzle.
It's just a puzzle. It's like, hey, you remember Professor Layton? Let's do this, but worse.
Wow. Oh, look. It's that game.
It's that game that Jacob is totally going to play at some point in the future.
I need to play that. That's probably going to be the next series I do, I think. That's going to be the next one. Once this is done, I'm probably going to do Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what could possibly stop me from playing that game, unless, like, some strange outside force of nature, like, stops me from playing that game. I think that's going to be the next series I do.
Man.
But, you know, you can't ever guarantee, oh, he's getting cocky.
That's,
I know exactly what I'll do, Peter. It's time. My juggling career is back in full swing.
I mean...
I gave up on my dreams of joining the circus, but now, look at me now.
Look at me now.
So take a look at me now.
I call that unbelievable.
I call it kind of cheap. I got an itch and I can't scratch.
Yes.
It's just like, hey, I might be getting addicted to my arms, but it's fine.
Hey, you know, I can stop anytime I want.
I can stop anytime I want.
My doctors call it a degenerative neurological disorder.
That's a fascinating connection you made there. Compare real life problems with substances to a fictional character from a fantasy land.
The mind continues.
That's kind of the point of literature.
You know, Tolkien actually hated allegory.
Well, he was not a fan of some of C.S. Lewis. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Like, C.S. Lewis, if I remember right, he just tries to be, like, so supportive of Tolkien. Maybe I might be getting my inklings mixed up, but then Tolkien just goes
Well, because
yo, man,
if you were
what
referring to
the-"
Narnia, that is C.S. Lewis. So.
I know, I am referring to Narnia, and I know it's C.S. Lewis. However, I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the correct member of the Inklings, that Tolkien was like, yo, man, what is this? And the other one was just like, yo, man, I really like what you're doing with Lord of the Rings.
What fascinated me was that when I looked into it, I was like, oh, these came out, like, simultaneously.
Yeah, they're all contemporaries.
They'd go to the bar and grab drinks together.
Well, there is a book called The Inklings, which is about Tolkien, Lewis, and Nito.
Neat.
Wait, did I actually have to investigate that more?
There is a yellow dot that you can investigate things with. He told you to check into, let's see what's in his office.
Hey, look at me being science boy Parker.
Direct interface with the basal ganglia. Exciting, but risky. I don't know, Doc. You'll need a gallium silk array to make it work. Even then, odds of injury are pretty high.
Gallium! Genius! Never mind the risks. We'll work them out in time.
You know, science is like baking. Sometimes it's more art than science.
No, it's it's not.
Hey, what's on the boards here?
Doc's really sick. At this rate, he'll lose control of his motor functions within a year.
Yeah. Oh, has he got Parkinson's?
Cranial implant could make things even worse. Even alter his personality.
Wow, look, can you see?
Look at that foreshadowing.
Look at that 4. It's in the corner and it's all covered in shadow. Wow. What's this on the board? Well, this doesn't seem problematic at all.
That's just, you know.
What's this?
Peter is starting to suspect.
That's a good opener.
But I can tell. He's seen my twitch. Noticed the decay of my fine motor control. Well, I'm the one who wanted a genius for an assistant. Of course he knows.
Oh, yes. Doctor, I am a genius. Look at me not look at the camera. Look at me not look at the camera.
Don't look at the audience, Peter. Peter, don't relate to camera, Peter. Don't relate to camera.
You know, Peter.
Peter, don't relate to the camera.
Some people just want.
Somebody once told me.
Some people just want to take a selfie. See, was that so hard? Was that so hard, Peter? Was it?
Okay,
now you're
so
in shadow. Okay.
There is a selfie way here in this game. I don't remember what. Aunt May's got something to say.
Doc, I'm sorry. My aunt just texted.
No worries, Peter. I was thinking of taking a break myself.
Lies.
As soon as I check our
Well, let's leave him in the dust for now.
Yeah.
I'm certain nothing bad will come of
Yay.
this.